There is no question that drug abuse has been abundant and continues to grow throughout local communities in the United States. Like any country, this one has its own problems, with a growing addiction rate towards the top of the list. Drug use has not declined in the past 100 years, but rather risen to haunt society and rip apart its youth in densely populated areas and smaller towns alike. In the early 1900s, throughout the 40s, opium came to be America's high. Then marijuana entered the picture in the 40s and 50s to give users a new recreational drug that no one really knew anything about. The 60s, of course, had its fair share of pot smokers, but drugs like hallucinogens LSD and mushrooms made everything far out and gained popularity. The 70s seemed to be about the speed, cocaine, and uppers as people danced the night away in disco clubs. The 80s followed with the emergence of crack cocaine, heroin, ecstasy, more gangs and violence. It would be safe to say the problem had worsened. Then in turn, the 1990s brought an emergence of methamphetamine and uncovered an unknown problem of the abuse of illegal drugs, over-the-counter medications that steamrolled as the drug of choice into the 2000s and beyond. Over the past 10 years, abuse of legal substances has skyrocketed 300%. Users are getting younger and access to the drug is relatively easy. No more do users have to worry about the law or being noticed with its camouflage of being odorless and small enough to hide anywhere. Throughout history there has been a drug problem, but prescription medications have gone under the radar as illegal drugs draw attention from the federal government and the national media. Throughout the past 10 to 15 years, this new drug of choice is creating a new culture of drug users at some of the youngest ages imaginable. These users are becoming a part of Generation RX.
Really didn't get into pain pills until I got into junior college, which almost everyone there that I hung out with was doing something or the other that was illegal.
Unfortunately, there's such a large number of people that have prescriptions that will take and either sell them or trade them or abuse them. And we see that a lot with high school kids, where their parents might have some prescriptions laying around the house and the kids have easy access to it. And again, the perception is because it's a prescription, it's not as bad for you. It's not like using methamphetamine. It was prescribed by a doctor.
We have a special interest in alcohol because of it's the most popular drug among young people, but prescription drug abuse is really skyrocketing, and so we're spending a lot of time also on prescription drug abuse.
Now what I'm hearing, students are using it a little bit more because sometimes they're scared about using street drugs. They don't want to get caught smoking marijuana. They don't want to get caught with underage drinking issues. So they feel like, well, this is an alternative. It's kind of a way that I can do stuff and relax, kick back, experience some euphoria, etc. And it's pretty easy to get a hold of, and it's not illegal. Some students don't even realize it's illegal.
Clearly, there is a real problem among young people throughout the United States. So it may be more common in young adults, and I think part of that is they simply don't realize how potent these things can be. And they just don't want to face the fact that they could become addicted. People very frequently, as with alcohol, don't realize that they're addicted until they're well into it. And then it's a long battle to try to get them to accept that they actually have a problem and need to be rehabilitated.
I started using meth when I was 14, was addicted to that for about a year, started doing coke when I was 16, got addicted to that for about a year. In between then, I started using Oxycontins, and I pretty much have done pain pills all throughout my drug use of doing other things, just until this May or March of '09.
The state of Arizona and its cities are no stranger to the abuse of legal drugs. According to Arizona's 2009 Substance Abuse Epidemiology Profile, Arizona students and adults alike are abusing prescription drugs more so than what national averages indicate. In the profile's latest figures, which were in 2007, 6.7% of Arizona's population was abusing painkillers. This figure is 1.7 percentage points higher than the national average of 5%. From 2004 to 2007, Each age group measured in the survey from Arizona reported a higher percentage of prescription drug abuse than national averages, with the exception of the age group of 18 to 25 years in 2005, indicating that the problem is getting worse for everybody, everywhere, in Arizona as well as the U.S. Though these percentages are far lower than that of marijuana usage, for example, they are growing by a much higher average and more than any other drug, legal or not. The epidemiology profile actually indicates that drug use of all other drugs are on the decline, but the abuse of prescription drugs is the only drug that is actually on the rise.
Prescription drug abuse is up 500%. It's the last, I'm going to say the last couple years that it's become especially popular. The country was very successful, I think, in a lot of ways in promoting the real dangers of methamphetamine abuse. And so kids, started messing with the prescription drugs because they look at them as being safe. It's much better that I take the Oxycontin than shooting up on heroin.
I shot up heroin, and then the next day I shot up, they're called Roxycontins. There's like 30 milligram oxys, and then ever since, or when I did that, I was addicted right away, more so to pills like Oxycontin than heroin, because it was just a lot cleaner, like a lot cleaner high, I guess you would say. And it was easier to get pills than heroin.